think outside the box. To think outside the box, okay? The idea is to teach you to think outside the box. These numbers can deceive you to think you'll be looking just among these 4 individuals. But remember, we have someone riding in the car, a lady or a man or whatever, riding. This is the most safe person. In view of that, let's go riding into our presentation or talk. The outline to my discourse with you would be to give you a brief history and the criticality of safety practice. We'll talk about safety competence and capability. We'll also talk about pathways and levels in practicing safety. And some people want to ask at the end of the day, how do I start? So to help you not to get to ask those questions, I'll be addressing it here as well. And then we'll talk about strategies, your plan, outline your plan on how to get into the safety profession and what you should be doing. A brief history of safety. Safety started as merely an organization. Organizations were looking for technical compliance officers, people that will be pursuing people to ensure that they are complying to safety. If you would agree with me, some of the professionals, old professionals here will say, we had people, then we were calling them safety police. So they move around majestically, trying to stop work, telling them, come down from that height or use your PPE, stop. That was how safety started. The idea was organizations were looking for a technical compliance officer that were trained through vocational tracks, that training skilled towards a particular profession. But over time, and also they were looking for people that would, like I said, pursue PPE usage. It was more like a reactive system. But over time, it started transcending, and safety brought in a system, a management system, where they were looking at proactive systems, where we have to put in things in place to prevent people from not complying, rather than going ahead pursuing them. Behavioral safety came in. There were so many systems that were identified, and they started putting them in place. Now, you would agree with me that with the emergence of COVID-19 and its variants, safety took another height. And now safety is talking about promoting mental health. We're talking about ensuring well-being of individuals. We're talking about business continuity. How would we continue our business and ensure that we don't have a breakdown in operations, we don't have a breakdown in attending to our clients and all that. That is where safety is now. It's on a promotion and proactive level. Now, you must have at the back of your mind that the main focus of safety, the practice of safety, is to prevent accidents that may lead to injuries, illness, properties, and equipment, and also harm to the environment. Now, a lot of my professional colleagues, we always focus on preventing injuries and illnesses. We don't look at damage to properties and equipment. That is important. As a matter of fact, management wants to hear that. That is their money. So if you don't consider this, you need to start integrating it into your concept of what safety is all about. It's not all about preventing accidents. If an equipment is damaged in the process of operation, it is an accident. So you need to put in measures to prevent that from taking place. Now, what is the world? What is the breadth? What is statistics of safety so far? I was able to pull out something from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, even if we don't have that in Nigeria, but we're still growing. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics said, so far, HSC professionals are over or close to approximately 110,000 people. As a matter of fact, IOSH, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about IOSH at the other professional bodies here, but IOSH is calculating over 46,000 members. ASP is talking about over 34,000 members. So the network is growing, the profession is growing, people are expanding, people want to know more, and it's not all about policing anymore. It's not about pursuing for compliance anymore. So let's talk about the capability and the competency of safety. While some people limit it to just skills, knowledge, and ability. Some people say no, it's skills, knowledge, and training. Personally, based on my experience so far, I think it considers so far, because there's room for improvement. So far, we need to add the place for training and experience. We need to add 5 of them, not just 3 or 2. So you should have your skills, you should have your knowledge, you should have your ability, you should have your training, you should have your experience. I'm going to bring back this slide later on in our presentation. So we see examples of what these things are all about. Now, I also borrowed a very simple typical IOSH competency framework from IOSH. Now, this framework was good for me, but you should know that this is not the only framework for occupational health and safety. As a matter of fact, ASSP has a different framework. CRSP has a different framework. So that's why I titled it a typical, and it's actually good because it focuses on 3 core areas: technical, behavioral, and core. We will still talk about all of this. It is required that as a technical expert or for your the technical part of you, you should have health and safety knowledge. You should have risk management knowledge. You should also look at being able to manage and drive safety culture, sustainability, your behavioral. You should be able to engage management and stakeholders, not just management. You should be able to have stakeholder management skills. Management, stakeholders, your stakeholders might be people that are required to drive your business. Let's start with business, like your customers, your clients. You should also be able to engage and manage your fellow colleagues, managers, staff, because some of them know their job more than you. So you should be able to manage them. Your personal performance, communication, leadership. I don't want to stay around it, but this is a typical competency framework and it works for me. But this is not the only framework. I can also share other materials where I think ISHPO has a different framework and ASSP ties to ISHPO. As a matter of fact, in ISHPO, they are talking about both practitioners differently and professionals differently. They said that the professionals are the people that have educational qualifications, and the practitioners are those that have vocational trainings. Okay, so what are the pathways and levels to practicing safety? There are several positions in safety, several positions, and there are several pathways. There's no one-cut pathway that you say, oh, this is the pathway. There are different ways people can dive into safety. And what is required of you is different. As your experience goes higher, they will require higher experience from you. They will require higher educational requirements from you, your knowledge, your skills in leadership, in business practices, in safety and health, communication, your data analytics. As a matter of fact, I always tell safety professionals, if you do not understand the core business, the core operations of a business, you will not be able to into that business, and management will not take you serious, because what management wants to hear is the business, is the strategic direction of the organization, how they want to increase profits. So you should be able to tie safety to how they want to increase profit, how you intend to bring safety into them, increasing profits in the business. You should also have data analysis. We're not telling you to go and I see a lot of data science trainings flying around. Just have at least a minimum knowledge of data analysis. You should be able to analyze data. As a matter of fact, I don't think you can practice safety totally without being able to analyze data, because people will bring a report. Is with that report you'll be able to analyze and pull out decisions or recommendations to organization, your management. Like I mentioned earlier, there are different pathways to safety. You can be a consultant. You can be a safety manager. You can be safety technicians. You can be safety specialist, a trainer, an engineer. You can also be an auditor. There's even an emerging pathway that is coming out, safety journalism. That's a very good pathway that is coming up. Safety journalism, you can be a safety journalist. I think HSE nations, they are into that. You can be a safety journalist. You can also be a defense lawyer for occupational incidents. That's safety occupational lawyer. We have people like that in the industry. So there are different pathways. Find your pathway. Just run through a minimum competence, or will I call it capability, that a safety professional should have for a safety consultant. Like I mentioned earlier, and I'm still stressing it, you should be, as a consultant, the consultant should be able to integrate safety into the core of the business. You will not be able to sell safety if you're not talking about the business and how business can advance. You should also have a well-rounded, comprehensive knowledge on so many relevant standards, local and relevant standards. You should have knowledge of codes, of regulations, standards like ISO, ANSI codes, NFPA codes, READOR regulation, OSHAs. There are different standards. You should also be aware of the Nigerian labor law. Someone asked me labor law too. I said yes. Employee Compensation Acts. You should have all this knowledge at your fingertips to be able to be called you should be well-rounded, because you need to know what protects the people you are also talking to management about and what backs you. So you should also have knowledge of EGASPIN. EGASPIN is environmental. I'm going to talk about that as we go on. I hope I have time. You should have all this knowledge and be able to apply them to the business. It's not to know, for example, ISO gives us a minimum standard, but you should be able, if you read it, to tell you that this is a standard, it's minimum, but you can go beyond this. But this is what will help you. So you should be able to apply these standards in your organization. For example, there was a construction work I supervised many years ago. There were so many standards we needed in regards to NFPA, fire. There were so many standards. We needed to put in the standard sprinkling system. You needed to follow the procedure of installing it. So there are different standards you require to have and you must have knowledge for all these things. And it's also required that at least you should have a background, at least a technical background in regulatory compliance. I talked about it earlier, and waste characterization and minimization. Audit is key too. At least one or all of, or more of this technical background. You should be able to recognize health, environmental, and physical hazards when you see them. You should be able to develop contracts. You should be able to develop contracts, edit and develop contracts. You should be able to develop safety plans. You should be able to develop written procedures, and they should be applicable to the business that you're working with at that particular time. You should be able to work with technologies. I would encourage that at least if you're going to be a safety consultant, you should have at least a degree in engineering, construction. For me personally, I think construction is very major, because you see the hazards daily flying up and down once you're in a construction site. That is very, very core for me. So before you can now start talking of other places. And another one is the oil and gas. If the oil and gas has a higher risk, followed by construction, followed by manufacturing. So you should have at least a degree in engineering, construction, safety, industrial safety, and what have you. I also personally recommend that a safety consultant should have practiced safety first. If you're able, because you won't be able to advise management or to train without being able, you've not been able to be in the field itself to practice it and see how it does before you'll be able to identify ways to navigate it. So I'll recommend that a safety consultant should be able to have practiced safety first. Then you can pursue being certified in CSPS, that be a certified safety professional. As a matter of fact, I recommend CSPS and NIBOSH diploma, because the scope of the certification, what is required, is actually very large. It can be a CSRP, that's for Canada. CSPS is actually, I hope I'm correct, it's the America, while CMOJ is UK, and CRSP is Canada. So you should be able to have at least one or any of this designation. For a manager, it's almost the same thing, except that you are inside the business. As a consultant, you're outside, you're playing an advisory role. But for a manager, you're inside the business. So you should be able to identify the business scope. For example, if your business, what they do is they render services to clients. Services, let me use an organization I work with, oil and gas services with regards to delivering hydrocarbons, LPG, PMS, and the rest. You need to understand from the beginning, the line, the chain of the operation. And with that, when you're able to understand the chain, the supply chain, let me use the word, the supply chain, the operations is inside the supply chain because it starts from when it's purchased and then till it gets out to your clients or your customer. You should be able to understand the entire chain and find where you'll be putting safety at every point of the supply chain. You should be able to understand international and local standard and requirements. You should be able to communicate that to management. You should be able to develop policy, drive it. You should be able to also facilitate changes. Management of change, if you've heard about that, you should be able to facilitate changes. You should have organizational skills. You should be able to drive risk assessment, have skills for risk assessment. You should be able to have strong ability to engage stakeholders and manage them. You should be able to train people and coach them. So I could go on and on and on, but it's almost the same thing with a consultant, but the only difference is you're inside the business. So you have to understand the strategic direction of the business per time, where management is going to, and follow them accordingly. Your role is more like an advisory role to the management, while the consultant is like a service. You're rendering a service. You're not a staff of the organization. Technicians. What are the minimum qualifications for technicians? The technician is, let me give you, which example will I give? Okay, for example, an industrial hygienist is a technician. A good industrial hygienist is a technician. You should be able to work with other specialists. What they do is they ensure they identify ahead of time, measure hazards, take exposure, they monitor exposure of contaminated hazards, or I'm trying to contaminated, they measure the exposure of contaminated environment. Let me just use that. That's like the simplest way. But what they do is they try to ensure that hazard exposure to staff or public is reduced. As a matter of fact, as a safety technician, you can actually dive into the public health world because it's all about measuring and ensuring that people are not exposed to contaminants in the environment or contaminants that are generated as a result of workplace. Let me use that. So occupational hazard. So they work with specialists, but they also have to have knowledge of permissible limits, allowable limits of all these contaminants in the workplace. They have to ensure that they can be able to identify unsafe work conditions, unsafe work environments, and raise alarm based on using instruments to measure all these things and putting out the allowable limits and what is the present records that they're having in place. They must have technical skills in using technical complex equipment. With this, in this field, you can actually come in with a high school diploma in other companies, in other countries. But in Nigeria, you and I know that you have to have at least a bachelor's degree. And you can also learn on the job. Now, another example of a technician would be a process safety engineer. These are technical roles. I'll talk about that as we go on. I would also encourage that you have certification in CSP. You can also have an international diploma of NEBOSH, because that's also a good place to start. For a safety trainer, you can be a first aid instructor, you can be a first aid, an ISO trainer. Yes, you can be a registered ISO trainer. We have people that are out there. They are even, some of them are even integrated into consultancy. We also have a very good expert in a very good safety first aid instructor. That is also a niche on your own, on its own. So you can identify it and tie yourself to that area. You say, what I want to do is just to train people in so field. But you must remember, if you're going to be a first aid instructor, you have to be good. You have to be good in first aid. Have to be either a designated advanced first aider. For ISO trainer, you can go and get all your certification you require to be a core ISO trainer. Maybe you can also be a NIBOSH trainer. Yes, you can be a NIBOSH IDC trainer. Those people, you find them inside consultancy training, because what they do is training, but it's advisable you be core, you go and learn. Can't be an ISO trainer without being familiar with some of the standards. We have various standards, like you already know, 45,001, 5,001, 43,001, 5,001 energy management, 43,001 operational health, and what have you. So you need to go. And ISO has various standards. You need to find the one that you can follow through and understand and be able to apply and train people on. And then you can pick that. You should also have skill in Microsoft Suite. I also encourage, even if you're not going to get a job in construction, if you do OSHA's 500, it will give you the acquired knowledge, because it has to do with construction. It tells you about identify hazard, how to do an incident investigation. It's core on construction, so it's okay for you to have that certification done. But as a trainer, you must be dependable and trustable, because some trainers trustworthy, because some trainers just say anything they want to say. And I will also advise, as a trainer, you should also have networking with other people inside an organization, actually experiencing the job, because you can't just stay and say, management should have a signed policy. You've not been able to drive management signing a policy before. So you do not know what it takes. So you can also, leverage on the knowledge of people already inside the business practicing it. You should have at least 2 years training experience. A bachelor's degree is fine. And I would always encourage, I will flog CSP. I'm sorry, I'm flogging CSP, because the scope is good. If you have that, you can be able to dive into little areas in safety. Safety specialists. For safety specialists can be considered as the OHS coordinators we have, or the OHS, what they call them. We have OHS coordinators, OHS supervisors. They are safety specialists. They should also be able to work with other specialists in the organization. When I'm talking about specialists, I hope you know that the operator on the operations floor is a specialist in his field. So you should be able to work with those people to be able to get your own results. You're a safety specialist, but you do not have the total knowledge of that particular piece of equipment or the total knowledge of that particular job. So you should be able to work with people that are SMEs in their job and obtain results. You should have knowledge of standards, government regulations, be able to identify unsafe working conditions. You should be able to, you remember I talked about, when I was talking about skills, the capability or the competency, I talked about ability. To be a safety specialist, you must be able to work on feet for long hours. Ability, that's ability, because your health matters as well. There are some people, many years ago, when I started as an intern, or what I call it, a trainee, I had a colleague like me that was also a trainee, but he did not have the capability to stand on feet, to stand for long hours. So you should be able to know, to check that you're medically fit. As also for the technicians, because some of them they are also required to monitor something for a particular period, take time weight average and all that, position the equipment, go back and check. And sometimes you have to stay there and observe for a long period of time. You need to be sure that you have the ability, physically, mentally, and health-wise, to dive into this field as well. Maybe if you're going into being a specialist. it is recommended that you have a bachelor's degree in engineering, biology, chemistry, but we have people coming from English, people coming from different field, literature now, but the recommendation, because safety field requires a lot of science background. You must agree with me, or you should agree with me rather. And some organizations nowadays, they've raised the bar. They want you to have masters, maybe industrial hygiene, health physics, and the rest. And it's also recommended if internship is actually not required, but if you want to start, you can start from an internship. You can do internship, you can come in as a volunteer, and then you will grow. Process safety. I don't want to flog this because I think I'm running out of time. I won't manage my time properly. Now, process safety, what do? They handle complex chemical processes, manufacturing processes. They are core in doing risk assessments, complex risk assessment like HAZOP, like HAZIT. They use tools like Bowtie. You should, to be a process engineer, I would encourage, if you ask me, every person that has engineering background should be a process engineer. Yes, you would learn, you will grow through the ranks, but it's good because your value out there, I promise you, your value is high. So you should be able to provide support, technical support in the application of company loss prevention programs, responsible care standards, process safety standards. You should have all these things at your fingertips when you become a professional. But this is what you should be looking at minimum, to be called a safety process engineer or a process safety engineer, whichever way you want to put it. An auditor. There are so many people that don't just like the wahala that an organization will give them. They just want to be an auditor. And yes, that is a good field on its own. You can be registered, an ICAR registered auditor. All you do is auditing. Organizations engage you. For example, certification body, API, people like ISO, they engage you to go and audit an organization to be able for them to give a certification or accreditation to that organization. That is a beautiful field on its own. What are the minimum things? You should be able to understand the standards that you're going to audit. You should also be able to have a technical background of some of the processes you're going to be auditing. I attended an auditing course some time ago, and all they did about that course was to identify loopholes in certification, in certificate of equipment. It was a quality audit training. It was all about identifying loopholes of certificates for equipment. So you should be able to scrutinize, identify gaps, and you should be able to stand for long hours, because sometimes you're required to walk around a full facility to observe their processes, go from one place to the other. You also need to be able to report. You must be trained. Same thing with specialists, manager, consultants, auditors. As a safety person, you should be able to have skills on report writing. Now I come back to the safety, competence, and capability I was talking about. For skills, you should have examples like leadership skills. You should have examples like report writing, incident investigation. Remember, incident deals with both accident and near misses. So you should be able to have the skills of investigation. Communication skill is very key because it has changed. It's no longer the safety police. Hey, you calm down. No, if not, they will not answer you. You should be able to understand people and communicate your information or whatever you want to share effectively. Remember, if it is not effective, it is not a communication. You should be able to understand laws, like I said, codes, regulation, I've mentioned that earlier. For capability, I'm bringing it up again, to be a CHI, to be a specialist. At least, for example, you should be able to stand for long hours. Your capability, your health, your physical health is also supposed to be considered. For training, you can do NEBOSH IGC, ISO, we have ISO food safety audits, that's ISO 22000. You can do any of this training. And for experience, for example, you can work in construction, marine, oil and gas, FMCG, consultancy. That is also its own industry coming up. The next question you might want to ask is, how do I start? How do you start? You start with having the end from the beginning in your mind. Where am I going to? So you have it in your mind, then you start. Earn a degree, choose a specialty, get an entry level, find out the specialty, the level, the place I'm going to. How do I start? What is the entry level? Then you grow. Professional development, you must advance in the career. You must continue to educate yourself for more opportunities. Now, let me bring it down to Nigeria. I'm sorry if we have people from other countries, but for Nigeria, because that's where my experience is, asking you, how do you start? You can start by doing HSC level 1, 2, and 3 with each one. The scope, the curriculum is actually very good. Can do OSHAS 500. Can do NEBOSH IGC, NEBOSH process safety. There's also NEBOSH environmental management. I want to also put in here as well. I hope we know that occupational health is not just health and safety. Most organizations has environment attached to it. So if you say you're a HSE professional, you should also have knowledge and competence in environment as well. If not, just keep yourself as health and safety, but to at least to expand yourself, because most organizations is looking for health, safety, and environment. They're not looking for OHS alone. To expand yourself in environment, do environmental management courses. There are diploma courses you can do in environment. There is NEBOSH environmental courses you can do. Expand yourself and get ISO certification, because that helps you to have a minimum standard of what an organization should have to drive management system of safety. You can do occupational ISO 45001. You can start with that. So you can do the internal auditor, or you can do the lead auditor. Anyone you choose to do that you feel you can do, you can go ahead and do it. Stages in your career growth. This is also based on few experience and exposure in the field of human resources and in the field of safety. For a trainee, 0 to 12 months, you can start as a trainee. As far as personally, I started as a volunteer before I even got up to a trainee. So we should have another step. I started as a volunteer, but in your professional growth, you should start as a trainee. From 0 to 12, you should be a trainee. 1 to 3 can be considered as an officer. 4 to 5, a supervisor. 7 to 8, a manager. And as you go up, you can be a country manager, a cluster manager, a regional manager. 15 years. We have people that have spent 28 years in safety. We have people that have spent 30 years in safety, practicing safety. Those are country managers, but they are all under the managerial calculus, because they drive strategic direction. They understand the corporate strategic direction of the organization to move the organization. They are integrating business, the safety core into the business. What are the strategies? What are the strategies of becoming a safety practitioner or a safety professional? Remember I told you, ISPO is defining practitioner and professional differently. IOS says they are professionals. Whatever they decide, but what are the strategies? Strategies is my line of plan. Write it down. This is the plan. I believe a lot of us have done that for this year. This is the strategy of how I want to end in 2022 December. This is what I want to become. What are all those things you need to incorporate in order to become a safety practitioner and a professional? It starts with passion. You can't do safety without passion. As a matter of fact, you will suffer in safety. If you come into safety without passion, you need your passion. It's your real intention. That's what drives you. If not, if you find yourself in an organization that does not recognize safety, what will make you wake up in the morning to come out and still talk about safety, to come out and still try to engage management and engage your stakeholders in general with safety? It is your passion for safety. The next thing is originality. The world is not looking for hard work again. No? The world is not looking for hard work, but they are not talking about smart work. They are talking about real thinkers. You have to be real. You have to think real solutions. Hard work is they give you a structure, follow this way, you follow through, make sure you close that, you look for a way smartly to combine everything. For real thinkers, there's a problem. Before you're going back to your manager to tell your manager, this is the problem, you have suggested, or you have even closed out the problem, and then you're going back, this is what I have done. That is what the world needs now. We're talking real thinkers, the world's talking real thinkers, problem solvers. You should be open to volunteering. I told you that I volunteered. I started as a volunteer, actually. And volunteering is not just, we have situations where people tell you volunteer because they are expecting something like peanuts coming out of it. No. Sometimes you have to volunteer because there is nothing coming out. You just want to learn safety. That was how I started. That was how I started. And I believe so many people in this profession also started the same way because of the passion for safety. You have to be open to volunteering. The next one is to invest in your career, professional development. Someone had given a presentation here prior to this time about that. You have to invest. As a matter of fact, my first time when they finally upgraded me to a trainee, they were paying me 50,000 naira, even with masters. They were paying me 50,000 naira. And with that 50,000, I was able to save to go and do ISO audit course. That was when the manager looked at it and demanded that they should pay me back. Management now said, okay, if she passes, we'll pay her. And then with all of that, they considered me for the next upgrade of integration into the business. So you should be able to invest in your career to develop. Some people don't think about it, but it's time. You have to start investing. Get ready to network. You need to network. You need to meet people. You need to learn because you are not an island on your own. Safety, if you would agree with me that you don't even know some of the totality of the equipment in the workplace, in the operations floor. So you need to be able to work with them, engage them properly. And also you need to network with your people, your fellow professionals outside, which is, this platform is doing a good job at that. Get a mentor. I have a mentor. In short, I have mentors. I have mentors. You should be teachable. You should be open to learn. You should be teachable. Sorry, this is blocking my, okay, good. Should attain membership with ASSP. I think by this, I'll say it's time for ASAP. I want the membership from ASSP, sorry. Ayosh, you should have membership with Ayosh. Ishpon, remember you're in Nigeria. Ishpon is growing. As a matter of fact, the amalgamation is taking place, has happened. So you need to also get your membership with Ishpon. ACHI, that's for technical people, the technicians. ACHI, industrial hygienists. RICS.
Miriam, please start rounding up because of time.
All right, thank you. Thank you. I will. You should be able to communicate. You should be emotionally stable. You should be visible. Visibility is very important in carrying out your work. You should be visible. People should see what you're doing and be sure you're doing the right thing. Develop leadership skills and allow yourself to grow. Train and read. A lot of safety people don't want to read. You have to read because you need to read the regulations and the standards and the codes. So basically, in my last words, it's just more like a summary. You should recognize that we have the emergence of safety. The emergence of COVID-19 and its variants has brought safety out to the table. Safety is talking about promoting mental health, well-being, and business continuity. And there are various pathways to safety, like I mentioned earlier. You can be a consultant, manager, technicians, even if there are levels to get into it, as you have seen. You should be passionate and remember that the world is looking for original thinkers. Just a summary, you can see that we've talked about brief history and the criticality of safety, safety competence defined, your pathways and your levels in practicing safety. I believe you now know how to start and you have gotten some tips on becoming a safety practitioner. Most importantly, I want you to go back with this. Remember the pathways to getting great, so getting there is in service. Thank you. Kemi, thank you. Apologies, I hope I didn't take one.
Thank you so much, Miriam. That was very educative and insightful. Thank you. We've learned so much. You've shown us different pathways to a successful career so the young ones can know how to advance in the safety profession. You also told us about skates. That's very important. the competencies we need to build, your skills, your knowledge, ability, training, and experience. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we can drop our questions as we go along, and Buki Ayo is going to handle the question and answer session. So Buki, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, due to time, so we won't allow those that want to ask questions to unmute themselves. So please, we just have about 10 minutes for this session. So please drop your questions in the chat box. And we have one question here. Please, what are the relevant laws for HSE in Nigeria? And how do we get access to them for compliance? That's from Emmanuel Ekechukwu.
Okay, can you take back that question? Can you read the question again, please?
Okay. He said, please, what are the relevant laws for HSE in Nigeria? And how do we get access to them for compliance?
Oh, there are different laws for HSE in Nigeria. Although HSE is not as robust as you would consider in other organizations, other countries. For example, you start with Labor Act. That's an act you need. It's very scanty, but we have Labor Act. We have Mineral Oil Safety Regulations. We have Nigeria Factory Act. We have Employee Compensation Act. These are all acts and laws that you can consider. Then you can also talk about EGASPIN. EGASPIN is an environmental guideline that is required to implement environmental management system in safety as well. So these are all there. You can look at Mineral Oil Safety Regulation. That's a good one to look at because it will help you. You can look at Employee Compensation Act. You can look at, there's Harmful Waste Act. Yes, there is Harmful Waste Act in Nigeria. You have to browse and get that. You can also get the Nigeria Factory Law or Factory Act. I hope I answered your question.
I believe you did. Well, I think on the platform, the chat box, where I can't see.
There's a question from DCA there.
All right, let me see. Okay, I have to go back up. Okay, what course or certification should a fresh graduate take to kickstart the OHS career? A fresh graduate.
That's a very good question. I think I addressed it in my slide, where I said to start with, you can start with ISHPON level 1, 2, and 3. I shared it there. You can start with level 1, 2, and 3. That will give you a minimum background of starting you into safety. And then you can go ahead and do your NEBOSH. But if you ask me, I will encourage you that you should at least have an experience before going to do NEBOSH. But start with ISHPON level 1, 2, and 3. You can also do OSHA's 500. That will also give you a fresh start into the industry or into the profession.
Okay, Marianne, please stop sharing your slide, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another question here from Temitope, and he said, a wonderful presentation. My question is, which of the HSE organization offers the best certification?
HSE organization. Okay, let me address you. That's why I kept mentioning pathways. If you're going to the UK, you know you're going towards IOSH. If you're moving to Canada, you're going towards CRSP. If you're going to America, you're considering, sorry, I said CRSP, yes. Then if you're going to America, you should be considering CSP. But if you ask me as a professional, I think I've taken a good look at their curriculum. Personally, CSP has a broad curriculum. And also, you should also consider a Bosch International Diploma. That also has a broad curriculum. So if you ask me which body, depends on where you're going to, because if you find yourself in Canada and you're flaunting CMOSH, they're not going to answer you, you won't grow. They might consider you for a particular level, but they will require you to also do their own certification. So it depends on where you want to go to. But in Nigeria is still, we're still building ourselves. We would have been able to, each one would have been able to solve all that, build our own requirements for us, but we'll get there. So if you're going, depending on the region you're going to be practicing, you can do your CSP, you can do CRSP, you can do CMOCH, depending on the region you're going to. I hope I answered your question.
And the last question that we have here, what advice, that is from Oluwasho. It says, what advice will you give someone that has a background in public health with 8 years experience in disaster management, but new to industrial safety? What aspects should she concentrate on?
Please read her qualification again, because you have an excellent qualification there. Read it again, please.
Okay, the person said has a background in public health, 8 years experience in disaster management, but the person is new to industrial safety. So what aspects should she concentrate on?
I think you should concentrate on being an industrial hygienist. That's safety technician. I think you should, because you have public health experience and you have disaster management experience. Disaster management, that also spreads you to sustainability as well. Remember, the word is talking about ESG. So we're talking about sustainability, environment. So you need to also spread your tentacles in that area as well. Look at industrial hygiene, being an industrial hygienist. Also look at being a sustainability professional.
All right, thank you so much, Marianne, for opening our eyes to the different aspects of the field. Personally, I've learned a lot, and I believe that others too have learned a lot. And I hope that whenever we come to you again, like Oliver Twist, you give us the audience.
Of course, I will.
All right, thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Buki. To show our appreciation and to let you know that we really appreciate you, Marianne, for this wonderful presentation, we would like Angela to present the certificates of recognition to you. Over to you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Marianne. You really did a wonderful expository on the subject matter, and we believe that when we call on you next time, you'll be there for us. We really appreciate you. And the fact that you are a young lady too will encourage young ones coming up that this career is not just meant for old persons. Any person can be there and make a mark. Thank you so much. So on behalf of ASSP, we are presenting this certificate of recognition to you. And we believe that so many persons will come out of this place better, and they will remember this day that you encourage them on the path that they chose in safety. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations. All right. We would like to have our president, Mr. Shehu Kabir, to give us an announcement on the upcoming annual PDC. Mr. President.
I think maybe network has kicked him out. You can call Dr. Ogechi Okandu. I think they're here too. He's one of the executive.
Okay, Dr. Ogechi Okandu, please can you stand in for Mr. President to tell us about the upcoming annual PDC holding next month? Dr. Okandu, please. Dr. Okando, please unmute yourself.
Okay, while we're waiting for him, we can call on Madam Justina Okoro to take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Justina Okoro. I just want to thank everybody for your patience today. We've actually passed our scheduled time of 11, and you all are still patient and with us here. So we want to say a big thank you to that. And I also want to join the other WISE executives to say a big thank you to Miriam for her educative and insightful presentation. I've been going through the comments and I'm seeing fantastic, passionate presentation. You did a good work. Nobody needs to tell us, I know you're a good trainer. And I can imagine how happy and excited your students will be when you're putting them through training. So thank you very much for doing the great work. And I hope other people will learn from that as well. I think our president is here. So before I give my own announcement, I think we shall allow him to give his announcement. Is he here? I heard him saying hello.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, sir, please, can you go ahead before I run?
Thank you. Well done. WISE coordination is something else. I really appreciate. Apology for my inability to start with you all along due to some challenges that demand in my workplace. Thank you very much. And let me just quickly go ahead with regard to our main PDC. Yeah, all things have been equal. We are set by God willing, and registration is ongoing. The date is on from 17 to 19, 2020, March 2022. And we expect every one of us to make his own registration since it's ongoing, members and also non-members as well. And been communicating with all our presenters and invitees. So that note, and also all the hotels that are needed will come up with the address hotels, because it's only one hotel that has been announced at the conference center, that NABES, but a bit cheaper. We'll soon come up with the address so that it will make things easier for members to register as well. And the place is, as everyone is aware. Thank you. I really appreciate coordination of WISE program. I really appreciate you and look forward to assist in all that. SSP Nigeria chapter is ready to assist you with all your programs coming up. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, over to you, Madam Justina.
We just have a few announcements before we wrap up for the day. I just want to remind everyone of the Women in Safety Excellence Workshop that will be coming up on 30th April. It's going to be a physical event and it will be taking place in Lagos. So more details will be communicated to us. So please, let's try and keep the last weekend in April free for this workshop. The theme for the workshop is managing home safety where it matters most. We all know that we've been talking about industrial safety, oil and gas, going to workplace safety. We need to bring this home because we can't be out there, being preachers to other people, and in our own homes, we are facing disasters. So we actually want to take safety home this period, and also knowing what is happening in the environment and in the nation, and worldwide. So we need to make sure we come together for this program. The theme is managing home safety where it matters. And the date is 30th April 2022. So please, let's keep that date free. And the venue is in Lagos. We are 25 Church Street off Irewole Street, Okpobi, Ikeja. So it's going to be in mainland. and we wish to have you all here. That's present today. We should try and make our time to be part of it as well. So if you're here and you love what we did today, I saw some people saying excellent work, ASSP wise, and you want to be a WISE member. First of all, you need to join ASSP as a member. So you can visit www.asssp.org to join. And then if you want to be a WISE member, all you need to do is add WISE as your common interest group. Add WISE as your common interest group. It's a token of $20. You'll be a member of WISE so that you can also join us and bring in all your own ideas on how we move WISE Women in Safety Excellence Common Interest Group forward. So this brings us to the end of today's webinar. I just want to appreciate everyone for your patience, and I want to say thank you to the presenter. I want to say thank you to our president, thank you to the executives, and thank you to all the participants. I wish you all the best, and I want you to enjoy the rest of the weekend. Thank you very much, and God bless. Stay blessed. Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. You forgot to make a group photograph, but it's already late. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, next time we're going to do that. Sorry.
It's recorded on YouTube already.
Okay, yeah.
But maybe next time.
Well done.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you, team. President and executive and everyone.
Madam, good morning,
madam. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Thank
you
so much. Appreciate you. God bless.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good to be here.
Good morning.
So, Madam Monica,
Good morning, Madam
Well done.
Good morning. Well done, guys. That was a good outing. Congratulations.
Madam Monica,
Well
good morning, everyone.
Good
morning, everyone. Oga Faces, good morning. I feel yourself.
So you are around.
Dr. Contin. Dr. Contin.
And you allow me to talk.
This way.
You have more update now.
Good morning. Good morning.
Dr. Contin, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
All done.
Bye. Thank you, Madam. Thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
I miss part of it a lot. I miss a lot of it. So, but thank God it's on YouTube. I'll go